Righty, good morning. We're up and running this morning on KCAA, AM 1050. And of course, at this time, you'd be tuning in for, and you have been listening to, Bill Santoro's Real Estate Insider Hour. My name is Vince Daniels. I'm not scheduled to be with you here for till about another 25 minutes after the news. But I wanted to read something from Carol Santoro, Bill's wife, who emailed me on Wednesday. Some of you may not know, close to a year ago, Bill was diagnosed with cancer. Bill began his show here on KCAA in January of 2010 as a noon-hour Saturday show. And, until June of last year, he was doing this pretty consistently until it became apparent to him that he needed to take some time off to begin focusing on treatment. By that time, his show had settled into this 9 a.m. slot, but oddly, KCAA had a hard time filling it when Bill had left to take care of his cancer. I think we all hoped that none of this was for real and that Bill would come back to us. Lo and behold, a few months ago, a few months later, he had given me a call and said that his cancer was in remission and he'd like to give this another go. He contacted his agent, Todd Rowan, and his producer, Nick Anthony, to talk about an October comeback in his 9 a.m. slot, which was still waiting for him. I remember my conversation with him at that time over the summer. I didn't consider how aggressive certain cancers could get. As a friend and colleague, I encouraged him to come back and do what he enjoys doing best in front of this microphone. So in October, Santoro came back, but within a couple of months, his body and his voice began to weaken. And sometime around the beginning of March, he stopped coming in altogether. Various guest hosts and repeats would fill this time slot. And then we realized that after today, it would actually be the end of Bill's contract with KCAA. Earlier in the week, he emailed and asked if I had another of his reruns standing by, if we can go ahead and play a good one. And I wrote him back, and I had picked the one that you have been listening to, one that I really think represents a time when he was just full of a lot of energy. The show you've been listening to goes back to August the 28th of 2010, almost 2 summers ago. And it was at a time before he had cancer, when everything was just going well with him. And it was just, and the camaraderie between he and Nick was just at its peak. But instead of Bill replying to the email that I sent him when I told him what show I was going to play, I received this instead. Dear Vince, thank you for reviewing Bill's shows and for coming up with one for him to sign off on, so to speak. Bill can no longer talk other than in a whisper and is very weak. He is grateful for your friendship. Please thank Nick and Todd as well, and keep Bill in your thoughts. Carol Santoro. Now, yesterday afternoon, I was over at a studio in Burbank recording an intro that was to play today before this show that you've been listening to, and I had put it all together. It was just pretty much everything I had just said. Please have you keep Bill in your prayers and thoughts, to keep him around with us a little while longer. I drove home yesterday, got home about 4:30. Checked my email, and at the time I was recording that special intro, which would have been about 12:30 in the afternoon, his wife Carol had sent me another email that said that Bill Santoro had passed away earlier that morning, yesterday morning. And there's just a range of emotions that go on. I'm here today with Todd Rowan, who is been Bill's agent from really the beginning, more than 2 years now.
Actually, I remember the first time about 2 years ago when Bill had given me a call and inquired about possibly doing a radio show. And when I first met him here at the station, the biggest thing I do remember how exciting he was as a person, and his personality was just very overwhelming because of the fact that, he was from the East Coast, and he and I actually had that in common because I grew up on the East Coast as well. But, Bill had that empowering personality, but more importantly as well, his whole objective was to do a show where he can actually help people, and that's one of the nice qualities that Bill had, was the fact that he was more willing to help others before himself, and he brought that to radio. And again, the reason I pretty much persuaded him and sold him and got him excited and to do radio because I thought he had that personality, and over the last 2 years he's actually done that in regards to his radio show and the guests that he has had on his radio show, and he's going to be sadly missed, and I have a strong feeling that he is up in heaven because he had that personality, and my condolences to his family, and if I know Bill, if he was here right now, he'd be saying, cut it out,
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to hear this stuff.
Oh, no. He, it was just like, he was that way. At Christmas time, I opened up a card. He had left, and I was busy preparing, didn't have a chance to open his Christmas card because I had gotten here just before the show started, in typical Vince Daniels fashion, and I opened it, and later on, middle of the show, I open it up, and there's a black Angus card with a note there saying, here, go knock a few back, have a drink on me. He was just that kind of a guy.
Yeah, very generous as well. He was one of those guys that outside, even outside the radio station, you can sit down and have a beer with him, and he'd entertain you. And again, he had for those who didn't know him, he had a very, very overpowering personality, and that's something that really forced me to really like him, because of the fact that just his personality was overwhelming.
Well, we have a couple of people on the line, Todd, that want to talk. Doug Shepard is one of the various people that sat in here a couple of times for Bill on the show. Doug, you out there?
I am. Good morning, Vince.
Good morning to you. Well, this is a hard morning for a lot of us.
Vince, I was listening to the show, and you're right. That was such typical Bill, just enthusiastically and with such passion, giving his feelings about how to build wealth and about the business that he was in and how it can really empower people. That's so typical Bill. I've known Bill for about, almost 25 years. We're both transplants to the Inland Empire. I came from Southern California, just a few miles away, but he came all the way from the East Coast. And over the years, as real estate professionals, we've bumped heads and worked together and competed against one another. I remember when he was with his former company at Tarbell, I'd go in the door and I'd be making a listing presentation to hopefully solicit business from a potential seller, and he'd be coming right on my heels as an appointment. And sometimes he'd get it, and sometimes I'd get it. And that's just the nature of our business. We're friendly competitors, or we're cooperative competitors. But I'll tell you about Bill. Bill does have a forceful personality.
Very gregarious.
But let me tell you about Bill. Bill made him. When you talk about a self-made man, sometimes like him and the thing we share in common is that we've kind of created out of need, a personality or a dynamic in order to pursue what we wanted to get out of life. And Bill told me an interesting story. When he started back, I think his uncle or somebody got him started back in the East Coast in real estate. And he said, his uncle said, there you go, boy, get on the phone, make some calls. And you know what? He said he confided in me. He was so scared to do so. He's just not. If you talk to Bill today or knew Bill today, you'd say, what? He was afraid to do that? No, he was. He was afraid to do it. It was intimidating to him. But he's built his career, his personality, and his life over the years. And that's something I admire, because I share that trait. I remember when I first got started, I knocking doors. I physically got ill to think about doing it. But to meet him today, you wouldn't have known that. So I admire that about him. He grew. I always like to, people say, oh, he's a natural salesman. I'll tell you what, I admire it more because he made himself into a businessman and a salesman. I really admired Bill for that. I also admire him because he used to kick my butt in racquetball all the time. I used to never tell him that, but we used to meet at LA Fitness a lot, and I'd bump into him, and he'd be in there whooping up on some people, and I'd challenge him, and then we'd do it again. And so this industry, as somebody that's been in the industry a long time, is going to miss a guy like Bill.
Well, I was going to ask you because we played the same one commercial that Bill's produced, which is a very recognizable one, and we're going to close this tribute and in this hour to him in about 10 minutes or so. But BillSantoro.net. Now, what becomes of? I know this is a rather naive question, but what becomes of his business? Was the business Bill Santoro, or does it go on?
No, Bill did several things. One, he built a business that can stand alone. He built a very profitable and very sustainable property management business, independent of his real estate sales business. In fact, I think he's passing that on to Carol. I don't know the status of that, but he can pass that on to heirs or others. And, they can hire a broker if Carol's not one and that kind of thing. So that can go on, and I hope it does, because it's a legacy and for the family. And then also, his investments, he lived what he talked on the radio. He has investments. I don't know the particulars, but I do know that he owned a number of properties. So that will go on. And then, his real estate business or company, and the people that work for him can go on. They'd have to maybe hire a separate broker if not. But I don't know all the details, but it certainly can go on. And I know the property management business will go on, and it's much respected and well established in the area here.
9 minutes to the hour for those of you just tuning in for the Bill Santoro Real Estate Insider Hour. This was today that was supposed to be the end of the run for Bill Santoro, and having worked shoulder to shoulder with him here for over 2 years now. I can remember that every 13 to 26 weeks, whatever contract he would have with the station, I think he did it in 13-week blocks, he would come to me and he'd say, Vince, do you think I should re-up again? Do you think, and I'd always encourage him, and he'd always be back, and we were always glad he came back. And as sick as he was, Doug, in January as he was getting ready for these last 13 weeks, I did not understand how he could do it as weak as he was getting, but he, and there's a part of me, honestly, and this is part of my grieving process, that I feel bad last summer when I encouraged him to come back, because I just saw him getting sicker. But I remember saying something to him too, and that's that, hey, you enjoy doing this. If you're going to go out doing something that you love. And I didn't mean that as a wish for him or anything, but still,
Vince, the truth is, I sat in with him on the last couple and then filled in for him over the last month. And the one I sat in on with him, he got stronger on the radio. He got stronger when he was talking about passionate things that he believed in. And I think it was good for him. That's just just my observation sitting across from him on a microphone. And when it was all done, we sat for a good half hour. I know he was weak. I know he wasn't feeling good. Carol had to come pick him up at the end because he wasn't driving. But I'll tell you what, one day he was supposed to meet me there, and he got a flat tire on the road, and he called in from the road.
Oh, that's right. I remember that show.
And he was really, really adamant about the ideas that he was getting across, and he wanted to put people in a position to hear him. So I wouldn't feel sorry for him.
You mentioned no, and you mentioned Carol. Talk about a supporting mate, supporting wife. She would be here sitting in the lobby. And yesterday in her email, she said perhaps it's best not to play a rerun of Bill's show. You just take the hour for your own show. And this was the kind of people they were. That's what they would have wanted. But you know what? No, this is his hour, and you know what? Maybe and as I said on a Facebook entry, maybe his contract on this earth was up yesterday, but his contract with KCAA goes on for another 7 minutes here, and we're going to fulfill it all the way.
Hopefully we'll do him proud.
Krista Curtis, are you out there?
I'm here. I'm listening. I was shocked when I heard the news. My mom actually read it on your Facebook page and then texted me. And I knew he'd been getting sick too, but I just think back of all the times, Vince, when we had your show, and that started at 10, and he was always there at 9, and he had that fun personality, always joking around, when I would come on, when my mom would come on, always just a fun, loving guy. And towards the end, just a couple months ago, he had me, I think I guest hosted for his show 1 week, and then on another week I actually co-hosted with him.
Right.
Just because, towards the end it got a little difficult for him to prepare, because you know how much it takes to prepare for a show, especially when you're doing it on your own. So I came with him so that we could chat and have a more relaxed atmosphere, and he didn't have to do so much preparation. But he's going to be missed, and, he's a great guy, and I send, my prayers and my condolences to his wife and his family. to the businesses, the business that he built, and all the people whose lives he touched. I mean, when you are in real estate, you're creating a memory for people, a long-lasting memory by selling them a home and giving them a place to live. And I don't know, he's just such a young guy. It's sad.
Yeah, and you know, you're in the. He counted on you not so much because he knew you in co-hosting with me, but he knew you to be somebody in the real estate business and knowledgeable.
Right. Yeah.
Just as he would call on you, Doug, and to come in, and he had a lot. Boy, he had a lot of friends, didn't he, Doug?
Oh yeah. Well, he was well respected beyond that. I mean, you know, people have friends, but he was respected in this industry. You know, people would say, Bill, hey, he's a tough guy, you know, but you know what? They'd also say he's the fairest guy you want to deal with. And that's just not talk at this time. That's what the industry thought of him. Fair, tough for his clients, but really a fair guy. And you wanted to do business with a guy like Bill.
Yeah. You know, a lot of us, you know, first you know, I got the email yesterday, and I'm just, you know, and it took a few hours to really catch up. I admit, I cried, you know. It's just, it's hard to believe that somebody's emailing you on Monday, and then all of a sudden, you know, it just, they're not here anymore. And I agree with Todd. He's, it's a cliche, but he is in a better place. I don't think he wanted to be here, continue to be here ravaged with what he was carrying with him every day, with cancer. Nick, who's produced this show, we all grieve in our own way, and Nick has a story that he won't tell because it's just too hard for him, but I'll, you know, and I don't guess I rightly understand it, but I can understand that it's hard to grieve, hard when you're grieving to be able to talk about somebody. But I was talking to Fred Lundgren, our owner, last night, and he said that this is a story that needs to, you know, to be heard, which was that, you know, you probably listened to the show when he would interact with Nick, and, you know, Nick would allude to the fact that he can't afford a home, he's broke, and, you know, a lot of times you hear from Nick, I'm broke. And I guess Bill had heard that so many times that at Christmas, you can imagine the surprise from Nick when he opened up a Christmas card. This was like an hour or two after Bill had left the studio and went home. We got so busy with the show we didn't have time to open up our cards, and when we did, the guy had two $100 bills in his card, and it just you know, brought Nick to tears. And this was the kind of guy that, and I think that Bill just never wanted to be, you know, reminded of it. I think he did what he did. He didn't want the left hand to know what the right hand was doing. Of course, you knew him a little bit better, Doug. Was he that way?
Well, I know that way. I knew he was generous. I know many people that worked with him. I was never actually on his team, but I knew people that worked with him, and everybody said that he took care of his people. Yeah.
He did. And Krista, he respected you a lot. I know, like what would he do? Would he call you like last minute to come in, or did?
Yeah, a couple times they called me, you know, maybe within just a few days as Bill was getting a little weaker and, you know, having a hard time getting out of bed. And so, and then there was another Saturday that they asked me to do the show, but I couldn't do it because I was actually out of town. Mm-hmm. So, but they were able to get, I'm not sure who he got to fill in that day. But, yeah, it was just, and so I just really was starting to get worried when I thought, oh my goodness, you know, but, you know, but when I did co-host with him, I mean, it was just like a couple months ago, and he was a little weak, but, you know, when somebody's up walking around, you don't expect them to be gone, you know, within 2 months. And he was definitely dedicated to doing the show, and I think he really enjoyed it, and I think that, so when he was not able to do that, you know, that it's pretty serious.
I want to thank you both for taking the time to be here this morning. I thought it was important to, for us, you know, to express our thoughts, and I'm, you know, I'll just never forget. You know, there are certain people, you know, the timing on all of this. I would have never expected it would have taken him this quickly. If anything, I would have thought maybe he would have had another year or two. So this really, wow.
And Vince, can I just say something?
Sure.
You know, and it's sad for us, and we miss our friend, and we miss this person that we know here. But the reality is that he is happier now, and he doesn't experience pain. And so I guess the comfort is the people that love him and knew him that we need here, but he doesn't need it, and he doesn't need us to feel sorry for him. I think he's in a better place. And
he is.
He doesn't experience pain, and he has a new body. So
yes, I do. I believe that. We need it, I think, for ourselves, but yet, he certainly doesn't. I even wonder if he's watching this on KCAA TV up there, if they have it, if they need it.
Well, let's really be there for Carol and the family. In fact, Vince, if you may have more contact, if you do, let us know.
I do. The last thing I emailed her last night was, please let me know about any kind of memorial or funeral services. Let me know. And if any of you are interested out there who were Bill Santoro friends or fans, you could keep in touch with me. Vince Daniels at vincedaniels.com is my email address. Feel free to write me, vincedaniels@vincedaniels.com. And,
we'll certainly be putting some information out through the Inland Valley Association of Realtors, of which he was a honored long-time member. So we'll get that out too.
Krista Curtis, Doug Shepard, thank you both. Thank you. Appreciate you. And we're going to go out one last time with a very familiar commercial for a business that's still very viable. So as we like to say in Radio Land, have your pencils and papers out and write this information down. It's a minute after the hour here on KCAA Loma Linda.
You're on board KCAA's Inland Talk Express. KCAA, Loma Linda, 1050 AM, the station that leaves no listener behind.
So glad to have one of my dearest friends, Paul Andrews. Paul.
Well, good morning.
Yeah.
You guys have been having one heck of a time. Are you Vince Daniels? Had a heck of a time
right
out there.
Here, right here, man.
And good old newsman Nick with that infectious laughter of his.
That's right.
It's a pleasure to be back, as always. We generally have a really good time, and of course, our friendship, our mutual friendship, is one of the wonderful things that's a facet of what we do here. So it's a pleasure to be here with you, my friend.
Last time you were here, God, we were talking to Whitney Houston's death.
Indeed, we certainly were. You know what's kind of interesting about that, though? If you recall that the discussion and the questions that we asked, one of which was whether or not during an autopsy you could determine the length of time or if there was continued drug use on that, and it's a thing that came to light afterward. In any case, that seemed to be the case.
Yes,
very sadly so.
What I know, and it was that guy the guy that we had on, the pathologist we had on, Cyril Wecht, and he nailed it.
Yeah, he certainly did.
He nailed it.
He certainly did.
And that's why we wanted to bring you tomorrow's news early.
Hey,
but it was funny. The death brought us together that day.
Well, you're absolutely right about that. It just so happened that I was looking through the material normally that you send out, and I was very saddened to see that because after having met Bill, such a kind, such an intelligent
Bill Santoro.
Yes, Bill Santoro. Such a kind and such an intelligent man. It was very, very pleased to disseminate information or knowledge that he knew of things based on his experience. And he was the sort of man that, while he had his opinions, the interesting thing about him, Vinny, is that even if your opinions conflicted with Bill, he never made you feel that he was condescending or that he felt that your ideology or your reasons had no merit at all. And it was just okay with him that, hey, you could have differing thoughts, and you still like the man. He's a very, very likable guy and a wonderful person to be around. And he's going to be missed.
They're having a funeral for him at this hour, and boy, the similes between the last time you were here when we were talking about Whitney Houston is that her funeral was happening at the hour we were doing that show, and they are having a funeral service in New York, and Bill is being buried next to his mom, and his wife Carol and son Stephen are there at this hour. And what they're going to do, by the way, is they're going to have a separate memorial service down here in Moreno Valley a week from Tuesday, May 8th. And what you want to do is go on Bill's website, billsantoro.net. A lot of .coms out there, but this would be .net, BILLSANTORO.net, and they have information on where it's going to be in Moreno Valley, the time, and I wasn't going to do this. Do we? I think somewhere, Nick, in the files, if you could find it, we have Bill, you remember, now one of the things I'm going to miss, and I didn't get a chance to say this last week on the, when I, it was such a moment because it just had, like you say, Paul, it just happened and it was a shock.
Sure.
And I came in and did a little tribute about 20 minutes out from Bill's time last week, and it was such a moment fading down from the show of his that was playing. It was a slow fade. And we went to one of his commercials, came back, and I did a tribute for 20 minutes. But I didn't get to say everything I wanted to say. And one of the things I will miss are the several times that he and Fred Wallen came on here at the beginning of this show for a point counterpoint. And if you could find, one of our better ones that we did from the very beginning, kind of go back maybe in the files and find something for us, that would be really helpful. And what we'll do is we'll close the hour with it. And if there's anybody out there who didn't get a chance to call in last week, 888-909-1050. Believe it or not, Paul, I even got a letter from somebody that said works in Bill's office and said, I don't know if you ever got the opportunity to meet his son, Stephen, but I will tell you that kid is a chip off the old block. He has the intelligence of both Bill and Carol combined, but didn't strut his stuff like Bill would. He has reason to, but not the ego.
Got it. But Carol's a very nice lady as well too.
You used to hang out here every week.
Absolutely, pleasure to know her.
I'll tell you what, we do have this right here, and this is actually Bill. Stephen was actually on his show. This is about 30 seconds or so, but Stephen was actually here because Bill has hung out here many times. Carol's hung out, like you say, with Bill and his wife, but his son was here one day as well. The first and only time he was ever on the Bill Santoro show.
So we've got a little bit of information today, but today I'd like to just say hello out to my engineer, Joe. Thank you for helping us out here on the Real Estate Insider Show. I also have with me my brilliant son, Stephen, who I want to congratulate. He got straight A's on his last course at UCR, and as I always tell you here, that he is a very smart person. He definitely got that from his mother. I don't know what he got from me, except for what, Stephen, huh? What did you get from your father?
These handsome looks.
Oh, there you go. All right, that's a good answer. That's the kind of answer that we're looking for.
Yes. So, one of the things I'm going to miss. It seems so strange coming in here to do the show and Bill not.
Yeah. We quite understand that.
Being
it's
in the
always
studio,
good to see him. Yeah. He was, always an upbeat man, and even, when Bill, it was obvious that he was sick and he was in considerable pain. He never complained about it. He just said, "Hey, I'm hanging in. It's a little rough, but I'm hanging in here, and I'm okay." And it was always good to see him because even though his health was waning so much, he still looked to have a tremendous amount of vitality.
Yeah. Yeah, and one thing I'm going to miss is how he used to bring this show on. And you'll remember, this is back in the DNA radio show days.
Yes.
We were here actually doing this before, just maybe under a year before he started his show.
Yes.
And we were still the DNA radio show at that time. But then I had left DNA, and the Jay Boatman show took over. So he was expecting Jay, and was in fact getting ready to introduce Jay when I guess I caught him by surprise to come in and do a Vince Daniels special. And this is from a Lincoln's birthday show we did February of 2011.
Want to do short sales that have legitimate hardships are just going to fall by the wayside. And the question will be is when will the seesaw teeter to the point where the banks have enough, as B of A had stated to CNN, that 86% of their loans are paying on time. Well, as they get stronger and stronger, and they start making more and more profit, they're going to get rid of their toxic loans, which is the properties that they've already foreclosed on. And the question is, what's going to happen to those people that have legitimate hardships and want to do a short sale and don't want a foreclosure on their market? Now, that's a question for you guys to dwell and think about. And next Saturday, give me a call and tell me what your thoughts are on that, because I'd certainly like to hear from you, just like I heard from Jerry in Highland. So this is Bill Santoro, your real estate insider, on a beautiful Saturday afternoon. Please get ready for the Jay Boatman show that's coming up to give you commentary and information. Oh, and the incredible Vince Daniels is here to be our speaker. You're speaking today, Vince. You're going to be on It's the Vince Daniels special. I apologize. I didn't get the memo. So we're going to hear from the famous Vince Daniels show. And so you'll get to hear good commentary, good music. And this is Bill Santoro signing off for a beautiful Saturday. And Michael, take it away.
Yeah, he's had a lot of engineers. Started with Joe, and then actually you took over, Nick. After that, when you moved to mornings, and you went to your baseball camp, and I guess Michael filled in that particular day. Right. I know he really liked you. He really liked you a lot. Loved the banter, and this is he doesn't. The one thing we should say, Bill, hosts that come on here that do shows do not have to. There's nothing written down that says they have to include the engineer or the producer in their shows.
Right.
You don't come in expecting that.
No, I don't.
He allows you to do this, and because he just includes you in the show. But this was an example of a morning when, like last night, you didn't stay out late last night, but I guess you were up quite late one night, and he picked up on it, and here's a moment from October 2nd of 2010.
Good morning, America. This is Bill Santoro, your real estate insider here on KCAA 1050 AM radio, leaving no listener behind. Good morning, Nick. You look a little under the weather. What's up, buddy?
Well, not really under the weather, but a little tired. A little tired I am this morning.
And why is that?
Well, number one, I drive in from L.A.
Oh, that's a hike.
Oh, yeah, and then I went out last night. So that doesn't help.
Oh, so the reality is we went out last night.
Well, I drive a long distance, too. So.
Well, he drives a long distance, folks. You hear that? But the reality, well, yeah, but Nick, I got to say, our superstar production guy that helps me here with the show, you have to be here at what time?
I get here about 5 in the morning.
5 o'clock in the morning.
Which means I get up at around 3 o'clock to be here.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I don't even know. I didn't even know people were out. I thought only zombies were out at that time.
Well, the sun definitely isn't up. So.
So I can see that. So going out last night isn't really a good idea if you have to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning.
No, it's not a good idea at all.
All right. Well, let's hope that you can still see the boards for us for today's show here.
Good. I can see very well. My coffee's on its way, and a little egg McMuffin's coming.
Oh, well, you should have called me. I would have picked that up and brought it in as soon as I got here.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Call me next time.
Okay.
I'll stop over.
Thanks, man.
No problem, my good friend. All right. Well, good morning, America. Again, this is Bill Santoro, your real estate insider.
What a generous guy. Yeah.
Well, he's very generous, and you notice that he didn't stay long with the I have to drive. It was don't go out at night.
Right.
Well, I have to drive 5.
Oh man! And I'll tell you what,
we
do have somebody that I know is holding for us that wants to get on the show here this morning and offer her thoughts about Bill Santoro. Plus, I have another nice letter I want to read. I want to take a few minutes because I want to make sure we come back on the other side and of the next break. We're going to take our usual 2 breaks, but when we come back, it's going to be a short segment. We're going to hear from somebody who's on the phone and also read another short letter that I got at vincedaniels.com about Bill Santoro. Some of the things that we just didn't get to last week. In fact, you might just call it our final hour tribute to Bill Santoro here on KCAA. So if you want to hear Bill, this is, now's the only time you're going to hear him. Between now and 11 o'clock. Paul Andrews with me, along with newsman Nick. 27 and change after the hour. You're listening to Vince Daniels.
The Vince Daniels Show.
Oh, you like this one. I know you do.
Yeah, you used to sing along with it.
Yeah. 28 to the hour. We're back. Vince Daniels and Paul Andrews joining me today, and we weren't going to do this, but there ain't no stopping us now, and especially we've been so blessed to be touched by the life of, not just another guy buying time here that had a show on KCAA, but just one of those rare human beings, Bill Santoro, who passed away a week ago yesterday. As a matter of fact, yesterday would have been Paul would have been his 57th birthday.
Wow. Not so old then.
No, God, and that's what's so tragic about this. Died of melanoma cancer. I got a letter last week, and I also have somebody on the line with us that wants to talk a little bit about her friend Bill. But this is from a letter I got Monday from Debbie Ton over at National Realty Group. Hi, Vince. I'm an employee at Bill's office for 2 years now. Getting this job at First Rate Rentals and getting to know Bill and Carol being his wife, has been a blessing. The courage and strength and spirit that Bill showed in his last months was such an inspiration to me, and he really was my hero. I've cried with him. I've laughed with him. All of us here at National Realty Group are devastated. He was our inspiration to keep this business going, to honor him in his beautiful journey here on Earth. Thank you for the wonderful program that you did honoring Bill this past Saturday. He's probably saying, stop it, guys, but no, he is touched and has a grand smile on his face. I believe that Bill is with our Lord and Savior, and I and many others pray worldwide for his soul to be in the loving arms of his Heavenly Father. I know he is there. Again, thank you, Vince. Hope to meet you someday. And that's from Debbie Todd. And I've got Laura calling, that's on the line with us. And by the way, I want to also again say, go to billsantoro.net, because that's where you'll find information on a memorial service that's going to be held a week from Tuesday. It'll be May 8th in Moreno Valley. They have the address and the time and everything there at billsantoro.net. There is a funeral happening now in New York, where Bill was born and raised. He's there with his wife, Carol, and son Stephen. Actually, he's there in spirit, but Carol and her son Stephen are there laying him to rest at this hour. Laura, are you out there?
I am. I'm here. Thank you.
And you worked actually, you were one of his assistants. You worked in the short sale area.
Correct.
And you had some things you wanted to say.
Well, I just wanted everybody to know. I heard the story about Bill and Carol leaving Nick $200 for Chris, in his card.
Oh, last week, Newsman Nick, yes.
Exactly. And, that's just the type of family that they are. They always were very, very giving. Christmas time, Easter. I mean, Carol even brought in, Steve's candy for Easter. She's a very strong woman, and God, Stephen, he like I said in my email to you, he's just a chip off the old block without the ego. Whenever Bill would call somebody, he always said, "Hey, this is the handsome Bill Santoro," and everybody kind of
he says,
Bill,
"Hi, handsome." Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, handsome, how you doing? And when I went to go see him in the hospital on last Thursday, that's basically what we said. He's got a really special family. His brother Chuck has done an outstanding job. I mean, just really stepped in. His wife Carol is just awesome. She just pretty much, she's very stoic. Stephen, he's very, very, very. He's so Bill. He's even got the same voice. When you call the office, if Stephen answers, you're like, "Hey, is this Bill or is this Stephen?" But he's been so proud of Stephen. And
can you picture a Stephen Santoro show here on KCAA in the near term?
Honestly, Stephen is pretty. He's an introvert type of person. He's got an awesome personality.
Oh, he's perfect for radio then.
Yeah, but he's always got something good to say, and no matter what you ask him, he's always got an answer.
Well, Laura, thank you so much for, and I hope to see you at the May 8th tribute there in Moreno Valley.
I will definitely be there.
Looking forward to it. And, of course, Bill's favorite, as you know, Laura, was classic rock music. It was a staple on his show.
Oh, yeah. You could see him dancing and singing in his office.
Name this group, Paul.
Roll along, guy.
I'll tell you after the break.
Yeah, it's funny because I was so busy focusing on what was being said that I was in that kind of zone thinking about Bill.
Laura was bringing me to tears.
Yeah,
Thank you, and I don't want you to do any more crying because I know Bill wouldn't want you to, but it's normal to. And hey, Laura, thank you again for calling in and
thank you. And he's eating this up. He loves the attention.
Oh, I know he does.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and we're going to come back with a special Bill Santoro moment.